Number one on the agenda was sketching, and it was far from what I thought would be simple. I sketched quite a few different objects, and one thing I noticed pretty quickly in my results, that I was sketching things that weren't suited to my beginner skill level. I thought to choose more simpler items to draw, also to take more time on each detail, and as a result, my sketches had more accuracy. For further assistance, I looked up some tutorials on YouTube to guide me through step by step. So after learning tips from my friend, watching YouTube videos and sketching a few things, I learned quite a lot. Sketching allowed me to explore line, shape and form, the elements of design as stated by Jacobs and Poley. Line was crucial in creating symmetry and determining the sizes of features. Forming shape was the foundation of the objects I was sketching, and the form of the features in the sketch had to be accurate in order for it to resemble the real object. I was able to use these elements with the sketch of the eye and focus on each element, resulting in the sketch looking more realistic than my last few works. In the classroom, it is important that I structure the lessons with proper instruction, a strategy in which Kelly and Sung believe will improve sketching abilities. As a result, students will be able to have a stronger judgment of geometrical reasoning and skills in observation, which are benefits to visual arts education, as stated by Jacobs and Poley. In my first dance class, I took a contemporary beginners class. I found many of the dance moves were achievable through the teacher's repetition of moves, as well as his referral to moves being objects, such as placing your heel on the floor by pretending you're squeezing a lemon. Using these metaphors will be helpful for students to action new movement by connecting it to something familiar to them. It also connects to the key learning area of English. This is my routine that I learned in my first dance class. Yes, my teacher was great. However, I wanted to practice my moves by participating in a dance class from YouTube. From this class, I became more familiar to the style of dance as there was an overlap of moves from my first class. After practicing on my own, I did another dance class. In my second dance class, the teacher advised us to focus on the movements that resembled shapes and lines. The use of basic terms allowed me to transform my thinking and imagination into movement. I started to realize that dance was not at all just movement or exercise. It was much more personal than that. Rehanian stated that if dance is taught purposefully, individuals are able to understand different attitudes and ideas. It was evident in my experience as I was able to stop all stiffness and nerves that I would usually have towards dancing and just let go and embody the dance and the meaning behind it. Soot and Viscous pointed out a learning method that defined my journey in learning contemporary dance. It was number one, developing dance technical skills such as acquisition and training of techniques. I got to learn moves such as the curl up and down, leg swings, flat back, tendu and chasse. And then number two, developing creativity, which encounters individuality, subjectivity and feelings. My dance teacher allowed us to have a minute of improvisation, which allowed me to take all my knowledge of contemporary dance and create my own piece of work. Rehanian stated this as the powerful tool of dance, being able to understand it and then recreate it. Kashtoff and Smith state that music educators must be prepared to nurture students' musical intelligences, which is when I realised learning an instrument would be very practical for me as a teacher. My tutor at university gave me a crash course, as she referred it to, on how to read music notes, which included crotchets, minims, semibreves and quavers. I then went to a piano lesson where I used my music reading skills to play the piano. To make it easier, I drew numbers on the keys to help me with the positions of my fingers. It was important to have hints to the music notes as it was difficult for me to tell apart the symbols in the beginning. When incorporating musical instruments in my future classroom, using visuals, numbers, acronyms such as FACE and sayings such as every good boy deserves fruit will simplify the musical concepts, which can be extremely difficult and confusing for beginners. Reading music is highly beneficial for younger children as they engage in word decoding and phonological skills which are linked to language acquisition, as mentioned by Jacobs and Poley. Through learning to play the piano, I was able to use my fine motor skills with the subtle movements and positioning of my hands, wrists, and fingers. As I became more comfortable in my hand positioning, I began to play with two hands simultaneously. This allowed me to work on my coordination skills, which Jacobs and Poley stated as a benefit to musical experiences. I've been finding it really hard to play the piano and sing at the same time. I finally got it, so I'll show you. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this... After becoming quite comfortable with the instrument, I had the urge to sing along to the songs I was playing, which I know will be good practice for the classroom, especially for the lower stages. Engaging in singing will allow children to engage in their senses and naturally partake with noise making, as stated by Bernard and Murphy. Finally got it. So now that I've completed my 3 art strands, I wanted to come on here to talk about the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. So my experience with the 3 art strands allowed me to meet Standard 2, know the content and how to teach it, learning the elements of design, dance moves, and musical notes and keys allowed me to have foundational knowledge to create my lessons with. With music and dance, I was able to meet Standard 6 as I engaged in professional learning and gained immense knowledge from my university teacher, my piano teacher, and 3 dance teachers. I have taken into account the teaching methods of the talented teachers and am now resourceful on where to go in my future career for professional development.